All right, welcome to the Sci-Fi Express Lane Summer Vacation Edition. I feel good to do this. I haven't done this in so long. Oh my God. Anyway, I saw the movies Flash. What else? Talking about what do you call it? Indiana Jones, and just really the impact that fans have on brands. I was listening to a show on NPR, and they were talking about, how actors are not loving doing these. Let's say one thing that they're not loving about doing the superhero pictures is that the superhero is bigger than them. And, back in the days, used to have Cary Grant. You had these, stars that were molded by the studios, and they had an energy, and they brought it to the character. Now, and they brought the character to life under their own design. But now you have characters that are bigger than the actors of themselves, or the actors don't get free reign on how they want to interpret the character. They are just, it's there. And I think that's wrong. However, I understand, I think it's wrong to interpret it that way. And I also think it's wrong for it to be, even if that was the way it was, I think it's wrong. So let me explain. All right, so this one I'm titling the negative impacts of fans, because I want to go more than just the acting, right? So the negative impact of fans is that they are real. They are who drives you. They are your core body, right? I always say, if it wasn't for fans writing fan fiction that got accepted as tie-in novels to the Star Wars universe, we wouldn't have more Star Wars films. We wouldn't have Andor. We wouldn't have Rogue One. We wouldn't have had all of these answers that complete the original Star Wars trilogy. George Lucas's dream wouldn't have come to fruition if it wasn't for fans as early as it did. It probably would have, they're doing everything over and over now, but they probably would have remade the original Star Wars. But if it wasn't for fans writing these stories in fan fiction and keeping it going, you wouldn't have had the Star Wars universe the way they have it now. So fans are important, but the downside is that when you're doing a film, say take for instance Indiana Jones 5, you can be distracted by fans and think you're making the fans, you would think the fans are the only people that are going to the film, that you have to only please your fans. And I think this was a problem with Indiana Jones this summer 2023. And, The Flash, I think sometimes you run away from your fans and you try to give them something that they didn't get before, and you try to overly pander to what you think are new fans, and you give people a kid Flash, or you do like The Mermaid, which I like that they diversified The Mermaid, but I kind of would have liked if they would have given us a different mermaid story. Now, I ain't seen the movie The Mermaid, but from what I heard, it's the same mermaid story with just a black actress playing the mermaid. So I think to me, fans can be a problem like that. And I know fans can tear down a brand, if you ignore them. So it's sort of a dance between the two, because you need your core fans, right? You need your core fans, but you also have people that are probably not your hardcore fans, but they will watch the movie and they love it. You know what I'm saying? I don't read everything that DC has, or I read probably less Marvel. but I love the movies and I go to see all the movies, so I think in I guess the grand determination, I would be considered a fan, but to diehard DC and Marvel comic book readers, I probably wouldn't, so in the eyes of the film makers, I say, yeah, consider me, but also consider the people that probably don't know anything about Marvel, and sell your story to them as well. I think sometimes with Indiana Jones, for example, there was so much paying homage to the Indiana Jones fans that they forgot this generation of people never watched the Indiana Jones movie. So as much as Indiana Jones brand got you to a number 5, the last movie, the Indiana Jones, The Skull, was trash. So you might want to forget that, which they kind of did. But you also want to recognize that people might not even have seen that. They might not have. They've only probably heard of Indiana Jones. So, and even with Indiana Jones, the movies wasn't even playing on television. But people don't watch television like that. So you just got to make assumption that you're introducing another story, unless it's a tight trilogy where each story is dependent on each other, like Lord of the Rings or The Matrix. You're introducing your character to another group, and sometimes, when you're catering to fans, you overlook that. And I felt it was a good movie, but I think for people, I've heard, I was in a comic book store, a kid said he never even watched, I think he said he just watched the Skull, Crystal Skull. And I was like, well, damn, you have a really bad opinion of Indiana Jones if that's your situation. There's actually kids that, never watched Star Wars. Now, I don't think that's the case with Star Wars, but I think Star Wars also gets it right. I think they set it up, of course, with the beginning thing. Some of the stories are interconnected, so even if you don't know, you might have to go back and watch the original, a previous story, just so you can, understand the movie that you're about to watch. So I think that's it. Now, when it comes to actors and the cast that's playing these, I think it is also important for you to think about fans when you're doing that. When you're talking about cast, I think there's a lot of actors that bring their own interpretations to these characters. I think, of course, they do their homework, but it's almost like playing a biopic. This person is like playing James Brown. You got Captain America, probably been around as long as James Brown. He's said, he's done, he's engaged with different things. So I think that's important. But then also, you bringing them to live, live action. So, I think they matched Samuel Jackson and Nick Fury perfect. You understand? And I think Nick Fury is a good example, because he was actually a white character in the comic books, and they made him black. And I think Samuel Jackson, did a good job with that. I think Chris Evans did a good job. There's been a bunch of Batmans, and I don't think, other than the raspy voice, they've all played Batman the same. I think they've brought their interpretations to Batman. I think one of the things, if I could, complain about the casting and the acting in superhero movies, is not that the actors have to act like a character that is already there, because it's like a biopic. Do it, This isn't, everything isn't your own thing. Like, shoot, I watched 3, or at least 2, Sherlock Holmes, and with Robert Downey, and he brought his energy to those movies. So, Sherlock Holmes had been portrayed a long time. Probably more interpretations of Sherlock Holmes than there were of Captain America. But yet, we're not complaining about that. I don't know what the complaint is, how from actors or really at the core. I think my complaint or my overall thing is the lack of continuity and relationship between the American comic books and the live action movies. So you will see a Nick Fury just now getting a Samuel Jackson type talking, behaving character. They even look like Samuel Jackson in this Nick Fury comic, but when it came to Captain America, it was no Chris Evans. The Guardians of the Galaxy is the only one where it is some similarity, but Guardians of the Galaxy was really not around before the cinematic universe. So when they came out, all you had to go by was the film. But they got that right because they still, changed things up. I think one of the biggest things was when they changed Miles Morales and gave the Tom Hardy, I might get it wrong, but they gave the last Spider-Man Miles Morales his best friend and his opening sequence. And I think that was kind of wrong. Why do I think it's wrong? Why do I have a problem with it? Is because when you look at manga, the Japanese comic books that they do in China and they do in Korea, and they all got different names for it. But when they do their live action, they follow the comic book's energy. They may even do the same story over. They don't have a problem with it. And they make it relative, like when they did V for Vendetta, or when you did, The Watchmen, right? That was clear. When they did, what was the movie with, and I'm asking y'all like you can answer. What was the movie with Angelina Jolie? The Assassins movie. Can't remember that, right? But that one, when they did the comic book, they were all different intergalactic characters, and they didn't do those characters over. So I think there's a big disconnect between the comic books. You go to a movie, you fall in love with a movie character, rendition, adaptation, and when you go to the comic books, it's the same one. And then for comic book readers, you're reading a certain character, and then they change it up for the film. And while it's something similar, it also is problematic. And so I think at some point, it is a conversation that you have with the fans of your particular product. I think sometimes fans are a big distraction because these studios, they don't know how to include them, and they don't know how to change up things. But whatever it is, I think fans are a factor. I think they're good, but I think you got to figure out how to include them. And there's examples of it done right for the brand, for the film's overall success. Don't be, as a studio, this is like my message to the studios, don't be distracted by the fans. They play a role. Don't disrespect the fans. And that's really it. So like, subscribe, share, and comment. I just realized, like, when I'm watching these, I am talking for like 15 minutes and nobody gets to interrupt me. So sometimes there's things that you might want to respond to that I have to keep going because I have notes. Most of the time they're in my head, but I have notes that of things that I want to make, so that way I can get all of the thoughts out of my head in 15 minutes. But sheesh, when I talk to people, I can't listen to, you got to wrap up your point in like 2-3 minutes. You go 5 minutes, that's a long one. So anyway, thank you for watching the Sci-Fi Express Lane. Thank you for engaging with me on social media, because I don't do these videos just to hear myself talk. I do these videos to advance the conversation, so when I talk to people, I can have a deeper conversation and we don't have to go over so many of the basics. So that's basically it. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.